evening's jobs are going to be getting that bushing out, because I have a new one ordered, and giving everything in there a good clean out, because there's probably a lot of old grease and muck and dirt in there. So I have a selection of accoutrements here, a roofing kind of a punch, they're awful handy, and I have a bit of a work lamp stolen from the house. We'll call it a bedside or a desk kind of lamp. So it's a little bit awkward here at the moment. There's only a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to need something that's fairly sharp to get in behind this bushing. Actually, I can barely see it from out here, so I know there's a sharp edge on this sponge, so I'll try and find where that is, put it in there, line it up. There's a good chance I might have to get in closer. Okay, so I see from this side here I need to start in around there. I might have to get a steel nail. I'm going to have to get a steel nail, I think, first. See there about 11 o'clock, it's just starting to fold outwards. So what I'm after doing is I'm after going and putting with the bench grinder, I'm after putting a little bit of a sharp edge on this, and I'm going to get that in behind there, tap it. Hopefully it's continue to fold out. It's just because it's worn so thin that it's hard to remove. It starts to fold back and you can start prising it out. At the side little, what would you call it here, the dipstick plate here was leaking, so I'm after taking it off. I'm going to give it a clean down. That gas can be reused, I think, yeah. What I'm going to put on is some Indian head, and that will seal that up nicely. Dipstick plate, so I have it off there. I'm going to give it a bit of a clean, pull out the dipstick, and I'm going to just clean up the gasket surface on this, and then I'm going to put some of my Indian head on it. This Indian head stuff, you'll have seen me use this a lot in the videos on the Gold Belly 35. It's not silicone based. It dissolves in oil, it dissolves in water, it dissolves in fuel, and it's ideal. But it just needs to be taken off again for whatever reason, it'll come off. It stays gloopy basically forever, and it's great stuff for sealing up. Mighty stuff. You don't have to be fussy at all. If it goes in there, it doesn't matter. You don't have to go clean it off. There's no harm. No harm at all. It's actually fairly hard stuff to get. Not everyone at a parts counter is going to know what Indian head is. I think it was used on the Indian motorcycles in America, on the cylinder heads to stop them from leaking, or blowing gaskets, whatever. So that'll do that. It's like treacle basically. I know one thing, if you get it on your hands, it's very hard to get off. Doing is, I want to get the seal surface, this is the half shaft seal surface, cleaned up on this half shaft. So I'm using a bit of sandpaper. I'm doing it on its side obviously because I don't want the bits of grit going into the bearing, but this will all be getting another go in the parts washer anyway. So I think this bearing might have been replaced, because you can see the marks of chisels on the collar. So this could have been replaced at sometime. These are a heat shrink collar, so you heat them up at oxyacetylene torch and they'll swell up, widen, and then you basically let them drop down and you hit them then with a hammer or a chisel. So I'd say they were probably replaced. It wouldn't surprise me because they really are in great condition. So I'm just getting these sealing surfaces cleaned up. It looks like the seal I took out was a double lipped rubber one, so it definitely was replaced at some point, and you can see the cleaner metal was where it was rubbing, so the same seal is going to be put in. So just a matter of using coarse or sandpaper first, medium, and slowly going finer until you get it nice and clean, and then a good go in the parts washer, and then a good greasing up of that sealing surface, and it'll be perfect. Telltale sign that the bearings were done was, you can see this is heat stress, so this was heated up, maybe to get off the old collar or something. Usually you drill them off, but yeah, that's usually just a bit of a telltale sign that the bearings were replaced. So there's a bit of a degreaser wipe there now, but that is usually as good as these clean up. It's super hard metal, so once it's smooth it'll seal. Plenty of grease. So that's ready for the parts washer again, and the next time we see that is going to be when we have our seal, new half shaft seal fitted. One of the first jobs I was looking at is this sump plug under here, and it's still dripping a little bit, so I've ordered a new one because there's no point messing around with that one. I'm going to remove it, and I have my oil pan was washed out in the parts washer and it's been dripping for the last 3 days, so I'm going to put that underneath it, and I'm going to take out the bung and have a look at it. And I have a new one there. It's always best to replace these if you have any doubts, otherwise you're going to always have a pool of oil underneath, so I don't want to over tighten anymore. So let's get that going. Let's get this drained out. This oil is barely done an hour, I'd say, since the engine was overhauled. So it should be good as new, as they say. I just want to see what condition treads are in. It's always better if you ask me to put a drain bung on the side of the sump, like the Ferguson 20 diesel. So if you're taking out an engine, it's not getting whacked down on it. Mind you, this is up, no, it is sticking down yet. It's definitely would have taken a bit of a wallop. But as I said, I've ordered a new one of these anyway. Yeah, and oil is lovely, as you'd expect. Okay, we'll leave that drain, and I'll get a look at this bung now. Let's go and get a bit of a rag. We'll see now, bring it over to the bench and see what sort of condition it's in. Okay, so normally these are a taper, so in other words they're a bit of a cone shape, that they're usually wider at the top than the bottom, and that's how they seal. You tighten them in a bit and they don't need any help to seal usually. So I'm going to let that drain out completely, and I'm going to have a look up at the torch and see what are the treads like up there. Hopefully they're good. Cast iron sump, yeah. So yeah, that's what we have. I have a new one ordered anyway. This one does look good, but I wasn't going to take the chance. As I said, you'd have oil leaking there. So the side plate here has a leak on it as well. So I've ordered a new PTO selector lever seal. So I'm going to take off this plate and do the same with the other one. I actually fitted the other one back on since, so it got a bit of Indian head. So I've only left one out, that's for the footboard. So I'm going to take off this, and we will see then about splitting all that lever assembly, taking it apart, so that I can get that seal into it. I just did one recently on my own 35, so it shouldn't be too hard at all. These are all just standard 11/16 usually. So I'll give them a loosen off. Lovely. And the last one. Oh yeah, boy, it's tight. This looks like a stud. That's interesting. I never saw a stud on them before. What harm? Interesting. I've never seen that. Maybe they're on the 35s. Massey 35s. I don't remember seeing them. So I'll come back when I have that ready to come off. the PTO selector lever plate off. It was a little bit hard to take off because this stud here was used for an earth, and from what I can see, it was starting to react. The power going through was starting to react with the casing. The casing is an aluminium magnesium alloy, so that's okay. We can clean that up, make a new gasket. So it's going to give this lad a quick wash. Get all that stuff off it, make it easier to work with. There's a lot of play in the lever, I see. In other words, you have to turn it a good bit before it actually does anything. So I sorted that out on my own 35. I'm going to have a look to see if I can do the same thing with this. I can't see why I wouldn't be able to do it. And then there should be a hydraulic filter in behind this plate there in the tractor. So I'll have a look and see about removing that and cleaning it out. So that'll do that, just to give it a quick clean up. And I let that drip for a minute. And some form of something in there. It's like a plumber's tape or something. So we'll take a look at all that. So there is a bolt in there, but if you look at the amount of free play there before it actually turns the shaft, so if I have to drill wider and put a bigger bolt in, I will. So there was a bit of welding going on at some point on this. There's a spring in there and a kind of a ball, we'll say, and it clicks in there, kind of an arrow kind of a shape, pointed, lads. So that's, you can feel that's working. And there was a gutter bolt put in there, and these are grand until they get corroded. So we'll definitely replace this with, and they're very soft, so we'll definitely replace this with something that's a little bit more long life, we'll say, that's not going to wear and rust and corrode. So hopefully it'll come out. I think I have it loose enough that I can cut it off with a hacksaw if I have to. But the leak here was actually kind of keeping it lubricated, so we're winning that there. So that's good so far. Okay, gutter bolt is out. These things are horrible little things now, because when they rust now, they impossible to get out, and you can only grip it then with a screwdriver. So this should just rock off. Pull it off here. Now put in a rag there. Find somewhere there. Hold between them two. This should just rock off, rock forward. So there's very little wear in this. It's just the hole in, the hole in there is a lot more worn than it is through here. So this must be a harder metal. And off with the little washer. Give all these a clean in the parts washer. Now, is there some form of a plumber's tape there? Yeah, I think that's what they were kind of relying on for it to seal. And of course my camera's out of focus, sorry about that. So this was, as I was saying, off with the washer, and it looks like there was some form of a plumber's tape used to seal this, so that's why it was leaking. So we'll turn it around now and get a look at what's going on. This should just pull straight out, and you have to watch the spring in here. Yeah, they definitely use some form of a plumber's tape in here. If you look here, it's starting to come off there. So that's what they were using to seal it. That's why it's a little harder to pull out. It's on the front as well, so we'll get it out though. There we go, and there is the plumber's tape that was kind of pulled into it there to seal it. So I suppose back in the day you did what you had to do. Okay, so that's okay. I'm going to give this shaft a little polish up with fine sandpaper, because that's going to be a sealing surface again, and we can pull off all this plumber's tape. Now, give all that clean up, that's no bother at all. This is this lad here, should be a spring in behind him, and he's working, present and accounted for. So I get a little hook and pull out the spring so we don't lose it, put it into the magnetic tray. So, and what this looks like, have a video of this job on the Gold Belly as well, in the Gold Belly playlist on my YouTube. So that's that, into the magnetic tray with those, don't lose them. And this cover now will be perfectly usable. We'll get another quick clean out. Everything okay in there. There should be a seal here. This is the original seal, because they were a metal seal. I think they were leather actually. So we'll tap out that seal. How did I do this before now? I know it's a little bit awkward. Oh yeah, so we'll sit him in the vise each side of that. If I can get that point on it. Have a feel there and make sure. Yeah. And it's sitting right on top of two bolt holes where it's strengthened as well. Okay, so I'll come back when I get a punch fitting in there. Can't actually, I remember now, I can't get a drift in because the seal is wider than the hole going down to it. So it's just a matter of poking it out with a screwdriver. Simple as that. And that's it, that's your original factory seal. So it's been in there since the 1960s. So it is a little bit gungy in there, so I go and give him a wash and bring it back. So for this lever, to get the free play out of it, what I do is I pick whichever hole is the biggest. And it seems to be in here. This is the bigger one, right? And then I get my drill bits, and I find a drill bit that's just literally perfect, but that will cut a little bit. And then I see it's too big for this. So this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to get a bolt that width. So I'm going to go and pick one. This is just literally going through there. So that'll just tidy that up, and it'll mean both of them will be the same size hole. So that's the drill that I need. So I'm going to go measure that, and I'm going to pick out a nice nut and bolt to suit it. With these is I drill them, and then I tap them, and I tap through there as well. So you end up with something that's basically solid. Tap them to imperial. And then when you try to bolt through there, sure, I can't go anywhere when you think of it. That takes all the free play out of them. Simple as that. Lovely job. So, because these things really do suffer with free play, you know, people swinging out of them over the years. Is it any wonder they'd be fairly bad now? This will sort it out properly now. At least we're bringing it back then to from a gutter bolt spec to a nice factory spec. This is the bolt that I've chosen. It just needs to be retreaded. Thread it down a little further there now, that's all. It'll be A1, lovely imperial fine thread. So we'll just cut the threads down a little further so that I can go right through. And this will take up all the slop out of that lever. Everything will be threaded. Very satisfying work, as I said before. working with this quality of metal. The modern metric nuts and bolts, they're too soft. There's these old nuts and bolts, it's hard enough work cutting threads on them because of the quality, but they cut very well. This is a 5/16 fine thread. I'm nearly there now. So I'll continue here and I'll come back when it's done. And now, our hard work pays off. Because I can tell you, after this bolt goes in, put on a 1/2 inch, that is a 13 mil. 1/2 inch would be a better fit. After this goes through here, I can tell you there will not be any free play in this anymore. So this is going probably a little bit, can be just a little bit tricky to get it through the very end. That's all, because you're relying on everything to be lined up 100%. So I'm just going to run the tap through from the bottom up actually. That's one thing I forgot to do. I put it through the top, from the top down. So I'll run it through the bottom up just to get everything lined up perfectly and because we've basically two sets of threads meeting. So it's no harm just to run that up there and make sure that it's all lining up lovely. Not down there either. And what that'll do is it'll just do a final bit of lining up on everything for us. So I'll come back when I've that done and hopefully we'll be able to bolt that on through. So the final tighten up now. There we are, coming through the end. And now we'll check and see what sort of free play we have. Considering we had a fair bit before, I'll actually be able to even put a little nut on that now on a washer. Free play 0. So that's what I do with these when they have free play. Drill 6.5 mil metric and then run a 5/8 UNF through them, and then put them together and run the tap through them one more time from start to finish. That lines up all the threads. And or you could actually just run the tap through first with them put together, but yeah, that's what I'm after doing there. So I've enough of meat the other side there for a nut, or I could cut it off, whatever. I'll see what way, if that's facing upwards I might cut it off, have it flush, and because I won't need anything now that it's threaded. So that's just a little job I do. It's a bit better than the gutter bolt with the Phillips head on it, because as I said, all is okay until they rust, and when they rust, forget about it, game over. So that's ready to take it apart again, give everything clean, and then when my seal comes, I'll fit the seal, and we'll call that job a good one. We'll call it job oxo. So these things, they take a little bit of time, but what these originally had from factory is actually a roller pin, and it's kind of a springy, kind of a tubular thing, and it's really weak, and he ended up getting a lot of this after a while as it squashed. So at least now we're well on the way to getting that sorted. So another little job you can do with this is get a bit of sandpaper and just polish up the sealing surface on it, put it in the vise. The sealing surface is going to be somewhere, I'd imagine, just there. You can really see it. It's just a bit dark, kind of a dark ring around it. So polish it up a little bit. You always see just where the seal is basically nearly rubbed off on it. So run the sandpaper around. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be oil under any pressure. around here. It's just splash, whatever splashes up. That it. So. Once it's good and smooth, it should be okay. And it's enough of a spring. There's actual spring in these seals, the new seals. So don't be frightened of, you know, thinking that if you go sanding it, that it's going to go making it narrower. This is really hard metal. You're not going to go taking really anything noticeable off. And the spring in the seal will keep the lips rubbing up against it and keep it sealing. So I don't think you're going to have a leak because you've sanded it too much. But something in around there is good enough. So our parts for cleaning are here now, so I'll keep that in there just so we don't lose it. And that. So I hope that's a help to anyone who has the same problem with these, because nearly all of them have that problem where you're turning this and you have to turn it a load before it actually engages the PTO or takes it out of gear. So there you go, and that's what I do with them.